Hey guys, this is Nick Marinaro. I'm a math teacher and a tech integrator at Lancaster Catholic High School. The program I'm in is Master of Ed in Assessment, Curriculum, and Teaching, and I'm currently doing the online teaching program. So, as of now, after this class, I will need one more class to graduate. So, I will be walking in May. Um, the purpose of my study, however, how would an online intervention program affect the students in my class, and how can I help my students stay engaged with material even when I do not see them on a daily basis? The main reason behind my study is the fact that my school changed schedules this year. So we went from a traditional schedule where we had 8 periods a day, 42-minute classes, to this year we have 75-minute periods every other day. So I only get to see my students, some weeks depending, if I see them either Tuesday and Thursday or sometimes Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So specifically those days where I see them twice a week, it's really hard to get them to retain information and be ready to begin class, and sometimes remember what they learned if it's on a Tuesday, remembering what they learned from the previous Friday. So I'm looking to find a tool that I can use to keep them engaged even while they're out of the classroom. That hopefully when they're in, like I said, that information will be recalled easier and quicker. Now, the research questions that I had, how will implementation of the intervention program impact the students' retention of unit concepts? And how will student homework completion rates be impacted? Students will be required to complete these assignments online within the application. And the application that I use is actually called Get More Math. So it's an online application tool that I can assign problems to students, and I can assign them in a variety of different ways. I can have them do a certain number of questions, require them to get a certain number of questions right, attempt a certain number of questions, a variety of different tools that I can use and ways that I can actually assign these problems. The idea is to keep them in the program out of class so they are still engaged with that material. As I was looking to conduct my research, obviously I looked up a couple of different previous research articles that were done on this. One of those articles, it actually went from a study that was done by the Utah State of Department of Education. And what they did, they took 200,000 students and they looked at the effects that different educational technology tools had on student achievement. They went in with the assumption that they would have an effect, but which tools would be the best, and did the tool matter? And when they went through and looked at this 10 of the 11 tools that they measured, students showed an increase in achievement. So at that point, definitely the tools do help. There is an advantage to using an online tool. The next study I looked at does the type of intervention, was the type of tool used, does that matter? Since the type of intervention was also significant in determining the effectiveness from the study. And the study looked at 3 specific different designs of online tools. One of them was a computer managed learning module. The other was a comprehensive learning module. And the other one was a supplemental computer assisted instruction model. And that last one, that supplemental computer assisted instruction model, which is one like the style that I use with Get More Math, is the one that showed the highest level of achievement. So again, this study showed that not just using a tool, but the type of tool used is what shows an impact here. And one of the last studies I looked at, it says here, researchers look to examine the effects of a digital formal assessment tool using the classroom and its overall effect on student achievement. So it looked at all different areas of achievement, and one of the things that came out of the study was not only achievement, did it show a growth in achievement, but also an increase in motivation. So that was something that I liked out of this study, and something I was hoping to see out of the study I was doing as well. The design of my study, I started with a pre-assessment. So I started with a pre-assessment just to get a baseline of what they know and what they don't. And the way I designed it was going to be a 3-week study. And within each week, they would get 2 assignments in the Get More Math program. And at the end of that week, they would have a small quiz. So I had a quiz at the end of week 1, another small quiz at the end of week 2. At the end of week 3, they had a unit test. And the unit I used for this was exponents. Um, so again, the first week I looked at just adding and subtracting exponents. Then the next week we looked at multiplying and dividing, and then later we looked at negative exponents. So we added all those three, and at the end, they got their final unit test. And each week, like I said, they had 2 assignments that were used in the Get More Math program. Some of the findings that were apparent from this were, if you, and this was actually encouraging, so if you looked at the overall growth in the classroom, and I'm not going to take a look at the pre-assessment. It was a very low score. Obviously, it was material they'd never seen before. But the first quiz, I had a class average of 75.7, and then on to the second quiz. The class average was 80%, and then by the unit test, I had a class average of 83%. So overall, I definitely saw an increase of growth when it comes to the class as a whole. I also looked at the completion rates of students. So I looked at, each assignment. So I had 6 different assignments done through Get More Math. What was the completion rate? How many problems were they doing? It was very spotty, specifically the first 2 weeks. And what I found was there was a little bit of a learning curve. Some students were getting stuck. Some students had issues that they could not, if they were stuck on a problem, the program wouldn't let them move on, would only let them do a certain number of skips. You can see here week 3, everybody had 100%, did all 20 problems for the week here, or got 20 points for this assignment. And that was when we kind of slowed down, regrouped, and we did this all together here. And then as you can see, going on the next couple of weeks, slowly but surely the class kind of came along and completed most of these assignments. One of the, I'd say, kind of mixed finding was the fact that I was hoping to see an increase in the class, which I did, like I said, from 77 to 83%. And I do see several students that showed a gradual increase, or even with some fairly dramatic increase as the unit went on. But there were some students, if you can see here, student 5, student 6, student 11, student 15, that showed actually some decrease as the unit went on. But then I had students like 2 and 3, that showed that increase. So I noticed in some students it didn't seem to be as effective as in others. So that was just from the findings here and just looking at the data. And that kind of led me to my conclusion here. I looked at the fact here, or asked them these questions. Do you feel Get More Math helped you in understanding of exponents? 58.8% said no, it did not help. It was something that they did not feel was beneficial or helpful to them, but 41.2% did. And then would you want to continue using Get More Math? And if they drew the exact same line here, 58.8% said no, but that 41.2% said yes. So my takeaway from that is not that 58.8% said no. I'm looking at this 41.2% that found this specific program helpful. So I'm going to decide to continue to using this in some sort of fashion. So this 41.2% has this tool to continue and hopefully can benefit from it in the future. Hopefully, as I continue to use it, maybe this 58.8 number shrinks and this 41.2% number increases. Maybe that's possible. I'm not sure. But again, it's worth continuing the study just to see how this comes along. As far as what did I learn, a couple of different things as far as just being patient with the research. After the first week, I was actually a little discouraged with some of my numbers, some of the setbacks from basically the students not being able to use the program correctly right away, but all that kind of ironed itself out in the end. How did this impact your role as a teacher? It obviously made me be more reflective on my own work. So I was looking at this data every single day, very intrigued of what would come about, something I should include in my teaching, on a more regular basis. And how could this project inform my school is that this is a tool that we're looking to use going forward, that we're going to use as an intervention tool for all of our math classes. So as I continue this, like I said, I'm going to continue my research. I will report back to my department and my principal on how I think this was effective. So overall, I think this was a great learning tool. It was a great project, something that I think I can use to grow into myself as a teacher, but also help out my school as well, and obviously my students.